Welcome back to One Up Club. I wanted to do a video today about X-Wing and TIE Fighter games. The X-Wing game was released in 1993, TIE Fighter game was released in 1994. I've been playing with my new Windows 98 gaming machine. Say new to me, it's not a new machine obviously. You've seen some of my previous videos, and I've got right back into these games. So I just wanted to show why I think these games are certainly some of the best of all time, certainly some of the best of the period, but also would always go in my sort of top 5 games of all time. TIE Fighter would definitely always fall in my top, definitely within my top 5, and that's not because X-Wing isn't an excellent game, but TIE Fighter is obviously a slightly more enhanced version really of X-Wing. So I think the reason these games were so good for at the time were for me was I'd kind of just started getting into PC gaming. I'd played a few simple sort of games on the PC. Probably played a bit of Day of the Tentacles, Sam and Max. I played a few point and click adventures. LucasArts were producing games with much more depth than I was used to on, like, I had a NES as well. I was playing on my NES. I had a Super Nintendo even. The games just seemed a lot more in depth, a lot more sort of immersive than what I was used to. I previously played on my Acorn Electron and my BBCs, and played simple sort of 8-bit games and things like that. Whereas the PC was utilising its larger memory size. At that time the graphics were starting to get better on the PC. Up until sort of the early 90s, the graphics weren't better on the PC than they were on, certainly not on the Amiga and things like that. But it was just starting to tip the balance towards sort of the PC. So the graphics were big open sort of spaces, things like that. It was just something different, just a bit more sort of grown up. So I mean, X-Wing, when I first played that, I was a big Star Wars fan. Every boy of my age was, big Luke Skywalker fan. And imagine just being able to sit there in an X-Wing fighter and actually carry out some of the missions that you would imagine Luke Skywalker would have carried out. At the end of well, not at the end of the game actually, the third tour of the game, you can actually go through and do the trench run, which I'll show you in a bit, which is obviously a very iconic sort of piece of sort of cinema. I think another thing that was really sort of developed in this sort of game, it's the first time I'd really seen sort of primary and secondary objectives, multiple objectives. You didn't have to complete all the objectives to actually pass the level. So it felt sort of super realistic to me, really. It's very much sort of like, this is a primary objective, this is a secondary objective. It's a simulator. It's not an arcadey sort of game. And I don't think it's been sort of superseded since. I've played Star Wars Battlefront, excellent games. You can jump in any vehicle you want, jump in a TIE Fighter, fantastic. But it's arcade controlled. It's all about learning sort of the speed of the, you're getting used to the controls, the speed of reaction speeds, things like that. This is a simulator. It feels like you're actually flying in space in an actual Star Wars universe ship. And it takes you time to travel between targets, and then you've got time to charge up your weapons, you've got time to charge up your shields, things like that. There's a lot of strategy involved. You can communicate with your wingmen, plan your attacks and things like that. Such a lot of depth for that time. I had dabbled with some simulators like MiG-29 Fulcrum, was probably the first simulator I ever played. Not a massive fan, mostly because of the takeoff and landing parts were always quite hard. But this was in a gravity-free sort of environment. Is the Star Wars game, so you're playing in a slightly different sort of environment, but it's still a simulator, very much a simulator. Lots of controls, lots of buttons and things like that. But for anybody who's ever tried it and maybe struggled to get into it because of all the different controls and buttons, I recommend just push on, just give it a good try. Once you get the hang of the basics, it's not that hard to play. Very, very enthralling. So yeah, I mean, I think another thing about this was probably one of the first games I ever saw sort of really lore, you know, which today is such a sort of commonplace thing. You know, in the Marvel universe, you play a Marvel game or you play a Star Wars game, you expect it to tie into every single film you've watched. You expect to see things and think, oh yeah, I remember that from that and that. This was the first time I'd ever seen that. I mean, this is pretty much before the internet had really taken off when these games were coming out. So there was no Wikipedia, you know, there was nowhere to go and look and follow up all your... So this had, you know, the realism, it had all the ships. You'd seen these ships in the films and they told you what they were called. You could see, you know, Corellian corvettes, or whatever it was, the Corellian cruisers, the you know, which I think is the Millennium Falcon. I think, might be wrong, but I think is the Millennium Falcon. X-wings, Y-wings, B-wings, TIE fighters, different types of TIE fighters. So it really tied you into the films. You know, it made you remember the films and think, actually, no, I know that. And it was something that my friends didn't know. They wouldn't know the names of all the different ships. Because that information wasn't freely available. You know, it wasn't the internet. You couldn't just spend hours sort of researching these topics. So I think it was one of the first games I ever saw that really tied into the lore. And I think for somebody my age, born in '78, grew up with the Star Wars films, very much wanted that. You know, I was ready for that sort of that lore, and again that experience of actually being in the films and really enjoying that experience. I think LucasArts had already started developing themselves as an excellent, you know, well-respected games developer by this sort of time. I mean, I think they started in the sort of mid-80s, and whoever was ahead of it, you know, they weren't just looking for cheap movie tie-ins. You know, they could have just churned out Star Wars, cheap, crappy Star Wars games. You know, they were wanting to produce quality games, really good games. You know, a lot of them weren't movie tie-ins that they produced, you know, like Sam and Max, Day of the Tentacle, those sort of games. So when they produced this game, they've clearly, if you look at it, they've clearly gone into a huge amount of detail on it. I think the original game came out on disc, floppy disk, but then the re-releases, the enhanced versions, the amount of depth they've put in, the cutscenes, the voiceovers, they're quite huge games for the time. They seem very big. So again, it's not just a lazy license, you know, like ET. It's a quality product that LucasArts have put out there, and you really feel like you're getting value for money. And I think that's something that when I buy a game today, I want hours, hundreds of hours of playability out of the game. That's what I'm looking for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some of the gameplay in a minute or two. And I'm going to go through, I just want to reintroduce my sort of Windows 98 PC, because I want to show you I've got a couple of additions to it which I think I just like to show off. I'm going to show you some of the gameplay and just sort of kind of sum up why this game is, for me, one of the best games of all time. So yeah, so this is my Windows 98 sort of setup, still suffering with this modern screen. But it's quite good for filming on, and it's quite versatile. I can sort of, it's on a nice extendable arm. I can run it back to the wall. I've also got a link to my main PC, so I can use it as a second monitor for that. But anyway, Windows 98 PC got a couple of upgrades on here. The Alabama Shrimp on Twitter, he gave me this keyboard. I showed it off on my last video, but I've picked this one. There was two keyboards he gave me. I've picked this one. Really like this keyboard. One of the things I really like about it more than anything is these stands. I mean, I like to have my keyboard stood up proud. I don't like to have it flat on the desk. And these stands are really sturdy. Most modern keyboards just have these little flaps, and they just either fall off, or when you push the keyboard back a bit, they just fall flat again. So you end up with a wobbly keyboard. So really good, nice metal base, good quality. They're not switched keys, but they actually feel pretty good for sort of membrane keys. You've got quite a good sort of amount of sort of press on there, so you know, it works really good. And then I've got my little fake Microsoft wheel mouse rigged up here. It works perfectly. I thought I might need a mouse mat for this, but actually it works pretty well on the on this wooden sort of surface. It's not the flattest surface. I made this desk myself. It's not perfectly flat, but it works fine on here. So that's my current setup with my Windows 98. It's a Celeron 1.7 gigahertz, 256 megabytes of RAM, I think. And yeah, and I've installed that Sound Blaster Live card, which you'll have seen. I had a bit of a job getting everything working on it, but I've got it working now on here. So let's just have a bit of a look through the gameplay on here. So we start off with the character sort of selection, which basically ties into your sort of save game, so it saves all your sort of progress. This version I've got has got a fully unlocked one, so I'll go on to that one. So when we proceed through to the main concourse, we've got the different areas we can choose. So we can go into the pilot proving ground, which is all the sort of basic sort of test missions. I'll just show you that sort of briefly. Got these lovely little cutscenes in between. It's really just add to that sort of like feeling of immersion, really, I suppose. You feel like you're actually going somewhere, you're doing something. It makes it feel realistic. Got the recognisable characters here, and then we can select from our ships down here. So on this game we have the X-Wing, which obviously everybody wants to fly, the Y-Wing, which is much more of a tactical sort of, almost like a bomber. It kind of, but it has the ion cannons which can disable targets, so you can actually take targets. The A-Wing, very manoeuvrable, very quick, hard to hit if you're actually fighting against it, which you'll see when you play the TIE Fighter game. And the B-Wing, which is more an experimental ship at the time, that has much better sort of capabilities. So let's go for the A-Wing, go into the game, and the basic sort of trading mission, it's just a little obstacle course to sort of fly through, and it's the same on TIE Fighter as well, but it's a slightly different obstacle course. So straight away, the graphics on this one, they're not as good as on the TIE Fighter, because TIE Fighter has slightly higher resolution graphics than this one. I can't remember, it's something like 320 by 280 maybe, something like that on this one. So everything looks a bit blocky in the distance. All the way through the game, you've got this beautiful soundtrack, just sort of knits together really nicely. It sounds like whenever you move from one thing to another, or it just adapts to the sort of the environment. Let me get my if you hold down, you can pitch quite easily, so you can do most of the basic controls just with the joystick. Works quite nicely. You can use the middle button also to target sort of enemies and things like that. So yeah, so this is a basic thing. You're just going to fly through there, and it gets slowly more and more difficult. You start getting little turrets firing at you as you're sort of flying through. You can take the turrets out with your lasers. That's it. You can switch between weapons by pressing W. And then I've got my torpedoes, which I can't target because I can't actually target anything on this sort of, but I'll show you an actual mission in a minute. So that's the basic training. So I'll show you an actual proper mission. So we get, always on X-Wing, you get these little briefings. You've got the guy telling you about the mission. He explains what's going to happen, what's going to do. Really nice little maps. I just love these little sort of cut scenes and the way things are sort of presented in this game. So it tells you what to do. You go into the mission, and sometimes I think you can choose which flight group you want to be part of, but in this one I'm just going to be, so this I'm going to be this X-Wing. So here we are, so we're in mission now. But like I say, we're not straight into any sort of action at all. We have this targeting computer here, so we can target anything that's on the ship, sorry, that's within this sort of gameplay sort of space. If we press the M, we can see all the other ships. See if I can move this around. Yeah, we can see all the other ships. So we've only got allied ships in there at the moment, and these are all trying to escape. So eventually, I think a Star Destroyer is going to hyperspace in, and they're going to start trying to attack us. So I'll go back out of there. So what I need to think about in this game is if I look at, they've got the two radars here. That's in front of me, that's behind me. If I see any red dots, that means that there's enemy ships, and I can press R to target the nearest enemy ship. What you have to think about is your engine speed, your laser recharge, and your shield recharge. So if you press F10, I can improve my shield recharging, but at the sacrifice of my maximum speed. Actually, I'm on low throttle at the minute. Right, the Star Destroyer's just sort of warped in now, so I might have a target. I can target the Star Destroyer. There we go. Target the Star Destroyer. I press R. Right, there's a TIE fighter's appeared now. So I'm going to actually get my shields down a bit because I want to make sure my lasers are fully charged and my speed is reasonable. So I'm going to target this first TIE fighter. So I pressed R, brought up the TIE fighter on the screen. So now I just need to fly towards him. I can see he's directly in front of me. I don't want to get too close to the Star Destroyer. Again, I don't have any chance if I get too close to that Star Destroyer, it'll just blow me out of the sky because it has much better... right, I can switch to my torpedoes, and I'm going to try and get this one with a torpedo. Oh, he's getting close now. Right, I might switch back to lasers. Now these TIE fighters are very hard to really manoeuvrable. That's it, got one. I've got it on easy setting actually, so they don't take too many. I was finding this game quite hard. I'm sure that when I was a kid I would have tackled it on hard setting, but they don't have any shields, these TIE fighters. The reason I know that is because I've played X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. So we've got a TIE bomber now that's coming in, so I'm going to try and take out this TIE bomber, and I'm going to see if I can get him with a torpedo. So I'll wait until this crosshair turns red, and then I know I've got a lock on, so I can fire my torpedo, and that's got him in one. He's dead. So I mean, I think the realism of this, it sort of really feels like I'm going too fast, so I'm going to catch them up, and I'm really close now. You really feel like you're battling in a real Star Wars universe here. Excellent game. Let's try and get in with a torpedo. And they genuinely manoeuvre. They're hard to target. Are the ships, particularly, and the smaller they are, the more manoeuvrable they are, and you feel that when you're actually playing with them as well. There he goes, he's actually attacking me there, so I've got to be careful. My shields are still pretty fine. I haven't taken any hits yet, I don't think, but again, I think that's because I'm in easy mode. So you need to control your speed, keep an eye on your shields there, keep an eye on your levels of these. If I want a bit more speed, I can take some power away from my shields or from my lasers. And if I take that away, you'll see the speed goes up, so I can really catch him up really quickly. But obviously I'm making myself more vulnerable now because my shields will slowly start to discharge. So it's a very, very tactical game, but also quite arcadey, you know, in the fighting sort of elements of it. I just want to show you what happens when I press H. H is hyperspace, so that's how you exit a mission. So if your ship's damaged beyond repair and you don't feel like you can complete the mission, you can hyperspace out and then re-attempt the mission if you want. But I just like the little hyperspace effect there. Look, just showing you some of the, like I said, it's got quite a lot of lore in here. So you can actually go through and you can look at the different ships. It gives you all lots of information about engines, sensor system, torpedoes, laser cannons. So you can learn all about the different ships, which again, I mean, I knew what an X-Wing was when I first got this game, but I didn't really know what a Y-Wing was. I never really, but then once you've seen them in the game, you actually then start to notice them in the films, the different types of ships, and then the experimental sort of B-Wing here. And then we've got, you can actually record whilst you're playing, and then you can actually watch your films back, which it's not a feature I've been using sort of today. But anyway, there's X-Wing. Fantastic game, really sort of a lot of depth to it. Really enjoyed that game. I'm just going to show you the actual trench run. Actually, I'm going to have an attempt at the trench run for the Death Star in my X-wing. So I'm basically going to be Luke Skywalker here. So it's slightly different from any of the other levels. This one's, you know, you're flying near something that looks a bit like a planet, so it's near ground. It changes very slightly in the game. I'll get into it. Very hard level. I haven't managed to complete this since I've been replaying this game, but I think it's been really well done. Now what I'm going to do on this, I'm going to get my shield charging up. I'm going to get my laser charging down. I'm not going to shoot at anything. So I want basically maximum speed, maximum maneuverability to try and get down that trench. So you'll see my shields are sort of charging up there. If I press S, I can redistribute my... Oh, there's a lot of fire coming in here. You're just going to try and avoid all this fire. I'm dead. Let's try again. So I'll get my shield charging up. I want to get my laser charging down. Really need to try and avoid any hits. So you can see the trench in the distance over there. You can just see that line, which is the actual trench. I mean, I know the resolution isn't great on this game, but oh, I've crashed into the actual Death Star there. That's where I died that time. Let's try one more time then. I can get you actually into the trench. You can actually see what it looks like in the trench. So again, I mean, playing this as a, I don't know, what, about 14, 15-year-old boy, absolutely incredible to actually be able to do the actual trench run. So I've got lots of shots coming in at me there. So that's it. So we're coming into the trench now. And what makes this level different is the actual display that comes up on the targeting system when you get into the trench. It's obviously custom just for this mission. It's not something you get. So we're in the trench now. Like I say, I'm not going to try and shoot anything because I just want to try and keep my speed up, keep my shields up. So I'm not bothered about charging my lasers. So I'll switch to torpedoes in a second. So let's see if I can... I haven't managed to do this one yet. I finished this recently. I'm pretty sure I did when I was a kid. I think I managed to finish this level. It's a long time ago. Right, I'm taking shots now. I need to redistribute my shields. If you get your shields down and carry on hitting, you start losing things like your sensors get knocked out, your targeting systems get knocked out, your shields, and eventually if you lose your hyperspace and you can't even quit the level, which is quite, it really adds to sort of the realism. It is possible actually to die in this game, I think, and actually lose your progress. See if I can get all the way to the... Oh, I think R2's been hit, or my ejection system's been broken. Let's have a look at TIE Fighter then. Get the volume up. So instantly it switches to that sort of sinister sounding music, and all the way through you've got the sinister sort of like thread to the music. It's very much the Imperial sort of type music that sort of shifts all the way through here. I'll skip this. Calibrate my joystick. So this is the play area for the sort of menu area, I suppose, for this game. Just having a slight problem with the sound on this for some reason. It seems to work perfectly most of the time, but just today it's kind of a bit crackly, the actual sound effects. But so we've got the training simulator, which is very similar to the TIE X-Wing, where we've got the assault courses to go through. It's a slightly different assault course, but we can have a look at the different ships we can choose on here. So I think we've got more ships on this game. We've got the TIE Fighter, the TIE Interceptor, which is a slightly sort of quicker version with slightly better laser sort of capabilities. The TIE Bomber, a bit like the Y-Wing, but it's got sort of bombing abilities. The TIE Advance, which I think is what Darth Vader flies in the last film. The assault gunboat, again more of a sort of a bombing ship. TIE Defender, which again I think is like the experimental craft in this one, you know, compared to the B-wing in X-wing. Missile boat. So again, we've got, like I say, it's a more accomplished game. There's more to it, this game, than the other one. So let's have a go in TIE Fighter Advanced then, and we'll just start on level 1, and I'll just show you the sort of the training mission on this one. So again, we're flying through an assault course, but this is just like an enclosed sort of thing. But straight away you can see the graphics is much clearer on this. It's a higher resolution. I think if we press escape we can see escape. No, you can't see it in here, but it's you've got quite a lot more options in this game. You can actually see the controls as well, which is quite useful because the game's quite complicated controls. But yeah, I think in the other, when you're out of the actual game, you can see the resolutions that it runs in. So yeah, so the menu here, when you press escape in the normal game outside the flight, you've got a few options on here, and so you can run it in 320 by 200, which is what I think X-Wing must run in. But you can also run it in 640 by 480, which I think is full VGA mode, which just, you know, looks really nice. It's got a lot more crisp. The polygons and things just looks a lot nicer. So when we come into the this is the briefing for the actual sort of missions. We can get a briefing from the flight officer. We can also get a briefing from a cloaked figure, and you can ask them various sort of questions, and usually the cloaked figure will give you a secondary objective, so that's quite a nice little touch. We can see the mission map, we can see the objectives there, very similar to the first game. And then we just, so what am I supposed to be doing on this one? So let's go into the mission. We can choose, we've got a bit more customizability. We can choose the sort of torpedoes we want to carry with us, so we can have faster torpedoes which home for less time but have a smaller payload, or larger torpedoes which have a higher payload. So I think it depends on what you're trying to actually take out. So if you're taking on small targets, you probably want the smaller one. Let's launch. So we're flying a gunboat, I think, in this one. So we've got ion cannons, we've got much more detail here on the actual HUD. Something I didn't show you before, you can actually sort of change your view to look all the way around, which is quite... So there, I don't know what my actual objective is, but if I press escape, I can see my actual goals. And again, this is something you couldn't do in X-Wing. So we must destroy 100% of the X-Wing group, 100% of the B-Wing group, and we must inspect the containers. So I'm going to go for the closest target. I'm currently set to lasers. I'll change my charging. Image shields. I want to charge up my lasers a bit more there. So I might go for a... There's an X-Wing. Now, one thing you learn from this game is the X-Wings, they're definitely not as manoeuvrable as X-Wing, as TIE fighters aren't. Aren't the X-Wings, but they have enhanced capabilities, like they have shields, they have oof, it's coming straight at me. It needs to be destroyed by somebody else. I think I've got a couple of shots in there though. So again, it's a much more sort of accomplished game. Both excellent games, but this one's just... I've actually met all the objectives there, so I can carry on and sort of carry on fighting, or I can escape. Now on this one, I think I've got hyperspace, X-wings and X-wing, TIE fighters and TIE fighter advanced, is it, or the TIE fighter interceptors? They don't have hyperspace capabilities, so they always have to fly off a frigate or a Star Destroyer, and to actually go back to end the mission, you've got to return to the Star Destroyer or the frigate and rejoin it. And again, after each mission, you can quite nicely, you can either go to the flight officer, or you can go to the cloaked figure and find out, you know, whether you've actually achieved the secondary objectives that the Sith, perhaps, or the Emperor wanted you to actually sort of carry out as well. So it's just nice that it just sort of fits in with the whole sort of Star Wars universe. You really feel like it's a different environment from the, you know, the niceness of the sort of the Rebels and things. Again, we've got the tech room here, so we can look at all the different ships. Gives us lots of stats and details about the different craft and things like that, so we can learn a lot about it. Again, extending that sort of lore, which just wasn't really a thing, not for me at the time. You know, if you're learning about things like laws, you'd have to get annuals and things like that to actually learn, or books to learn about them. We didn't have the freedom of the internet to find out this sort of information. Targeted some damage I hit to mine. Just nice to see the sort of models and things like that. You can see the, like this frigate here, you know, flying. You get the size of the scale of it. You know, it's quite nicely done. Things like Star Destroyers, everything is just done really sort of nicely. I can go in here. I can dock, I think. Oh no, it's not my frigate. I don't know if I can dock. Right, I'm stuck in the game. I can't exit this this level. So there we go. TIE Fighter, X-wing. Both released. X-wing was released in 1993, TIE Fighter was released in 1994. In my opinion, two of the best games of all time. Definitely in my, definitely put TIE Fighter in my top 5 if I've got to choose. Loved this game at the time, and hopefully you can understand why I liked it so much. And maybe you agree, maybe it is one of the best games of all time. I don't think there's been anything like it, certainly not within the Star Wars universe since. I think there's a new game out fairly recently, but it's released by EA. It's probably going to have a lot of online purchases and you know, these sort of things, which really has put me off any EA games recently. But so I think this, it's just always going to stand there as being quite unique, very playable today. I play a lot of modern games. I like modern games. I'm not one of these people who only likes old games. This stands up to the test of time. You can play this today as well as you can back in the 1990s. But yeah, an absolute groundbreaking game. Love this game. Let me know what you think about it in the comments.